Hey SEOs and content marketers, say goodbye to crazy spreadsheet mashups and experience unprecedented connectivity between your SEO planning and reporting data. Introducing Audience Key, technology for keyword mapping, content brief automation, and rank tracking that form an SEO strategy system providing unparalleled feedback loops between planning, reporting, and optimization activities. Put your time and energy into strategy, not data upkeep. Visit audiencekey.com and apply for a free trial today. Hey everyone, welcome to Webcology here on WMR.fm. It's the 12th of October, 2023. And formalities first. This is Jim Hedger from Digital Always Media and Kristine Schachinger from Sites Without Walls. We have a guest in, Morgan McGraw from Seedtag. Morgan's going to be on the show in a few moments. Before we get to the news, before we get to Morgan, before we talk about AI or Google or web marketing or much of anything, Webcology is a show that has traditionally worn its politics on its sleeve, although we try to keep our personal politics out of the stories and how we cover them. In instances such as we would, if we are going to have politics come into the story, we want it to be related to technology, much like the arguments that Dave Davies and I used to have about net neutrality, until of course I brought him around to the understanding of the importance of net neutrality. Politics is a part of pretty much everything in economics and in the world, and sometimes things are just go beyond and defy politics, as we learned earlier this week. The terrorist attacks that happened in all throughout southern Israel, coming from and in Gaza, and as we're seeing what's the result of those attacks, with unspeakable destruction and loss of life. And this is going to go on for a little while, and it's going to hurt for a little while. And it cannot go without mention. We weren't broadcasting when 9/11 happened, although many people involved in the search marketing community were working and active, and very, very aware when 9/11 happened. But this is an event that has the same and will have the same long-term repercussions as 9/11. This is again, it's impossible to know exactly what the right thing to say about a terribly wrong thing is, and there is no right thing to say. As far as we know, everyone from the search marketing and SEO family who lives either in Israel or in Gaza is okay. We've not heard otherwise, and we've been checking very regularly. Be kind to each other. Try to keep anger and hate and the pain of all this out of our lives and our businesses and our interactions with each other. And just be aware that a lot of people are hurting. It took months for people to get used to living in a world where the shock of something like this could happen after 9/11. It's going to take months for people to get used to living in a world where the shock of this happened. Be kind to people and give people a break for the next little while, eh?
Yeah, very well said, Jim. I know we have a lot of people in the SEO community that are Jewish or live in Israel, or are part of this situation. So
yeah, just it's again, I've been trying to figure out how I feel about this and how to speak about this or write about it or capture my thoughts about it for the last 6 days, and the enormity of it still makes me weep every time I just think about it. I'm having a hard time getting through this right now.
Yeah, it's just a unimaginable situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our love goes out to everybody affected by the violence. Absolute condemnation of terrorism and of violence, political violence against innocent persons. Yeah. So if you were learning about what's happening in Israel and Gaza, if you were learning about Israel's war on Hamas, and you were learning about this horrible, horrible event, and you were getting your information from Twitter or X or Twixter, you might want to find another information source. In fact, you're strongly recommended to find another information source, because after a year of tempting and promoting outright anti-Semitic and Nazi content on Twitter, the predictable has happened, and Twitter is a I don't think you're going to find terribly accurate or factual information at Twitter. And if you do, that information is going to get shot down and bastardized very quickly in the stream.
Well, I will put one caveat in there, and that is there are still known reporters and people on there that do verify their information, but you want to be very careful about what you're looking at and sharing outside of those, because even the EU yesterday gave us 24 hours to address the illegal content and disinformation. I don't know what the proposed punishment could be, but it's apparently like there's always disinformation on social media. We know that, but this isn't the normal disinformation. This is really bad, and part of it's just the pure process that Musk took out all the reviewers. So they expect community notes to handle all this, and community notes are just volunteers. And the system on community notes takes a while for a note to get surfaced that addresses the non-factual issues. But there's a lot of purveyors of disinformation right now, and fake videos. Um, things like that. A lot of videos people are sharing, like that are disinformation accounts, are sharing videos that are things that happened like 10 years ago or 20 years ago. So please make sure before you share anything that you verify it, and please only make sure to share things from people who verify what they share. Like news sites have standards around that. If you're doing CBS News, they've verified it before they share it. Could they be wrong? Occasionally, yes, but they try to make sure that doesn't happen. So, but yeah, you do have to be very careful, because Twitter's always been the place to go when news is breaking, right, Jim? Like you go to Twitter.
Absolutely. Twitter is being the virtual town square for the last half dozen years, minimum, last 10 years.
Yeah.
But again, now there's a likelihood that what you're reading again is badly biased, and this is a incredibly complicated, eons old situation. It's decades old, but it's also centuries old, and there's no way to do a quick deep dive. So learning about this from social media, even in the best of conditions, but when you're on a network that is literally actively spreading purposefully disinformation,
Yeah.
and this is absolutely the wrong time for disinformation. People need a fairly unbiased view of what's going on around them.
Yeah. So check. If you see something, don't just share it because of the shock value. Make sure that you verify from legitimate news sources, reporters, and people, and that actually know what happened before you start sharing it. Because we can all be part of the problem, or we can all hold on for a second and make sure what we share is legitimate, so we are not part of that problem.
Let's move away from any politics whatsoever, because that's not what this show is supposed to be about. And
Yeah.
well, it's gonna come up again and again and again, ain't it? Okay, WordPress wants to know what you want. So
Woohoo.
this is on, believe it or not, but WordPress does the annual survey. Every year they actually ask us what we want. Although this year they're specifically asking SEO professionals, affiliates, recipe bloggers, small business owners, and advertisers. What do you want out of WordPress?
I'm excited because I didn't actually know they do it every year. I saw this. I was like, yay. Because I'm
Yeah,
working
so
on 4 WordPress sites right now.
here's the deal. It's an ongoing survey, but the survey is closing soon. If you go to Search Engine Journal, you can find a link directly to the survey. The article was posted on October 11th, so it's still up in their in Search Engine Journal's top churn. Get your opinion known. I mean, but our community is large enough that if a number of SEOs go and actually make their opinions known, WordPress will get a message from us.
I mean, we changed Wix, didn't we?
Well, we didn't change Wix as much as Wix changed for us.
That's what I mean.
But
But
I
they
think it
did
was
it based on
a
a
lot
lot
of the
of our
reviews and
feedback.
chatter
Yeah.
that pushed Wix, certainly.
Yeah. They saw us commenting. They did those competitions. And finally, they have somebody that actually communicates to the SEO community to find out how they can do things better, which is awesome.
So again, if you want to get your opinion into WordPress, get it in soon. The I don't know exactly when the survey is closing, but it should be closing sometime this week. It's been going on for about a week now.
I was looking for the date, but it doesn't actually say. So just closing soon works.
Just closing soon works. So
Yeah.
and closing soon doesn't mean do this tomorrow. Closing soon means do this after you've listened to this podcast, like immediately. So results are coming in from the spam update, the international spam update, and apparently it's working.
Did we get a notification if the US is involved? Because no one would tell us. We got like, it's these countries and other languages. And we're like, does English in there? We don't know.
Well, English is in there, but it's not what Google was targeting specifically.
Okay.
Google, I think, was looking for a number of websites that copied text, maybe translated text, and are now publishing them in multiple language on multiple sites. Like serious spam coverage. But it often all originates from the same place. They scrape and copy and replicate and surround it with your ads, and
Great
boom, you've got
spin
yourself a
post.
small income.
Yeah, exactly. Scrape skin post. Great spin post. Now spinning now is often known with ChatGPT, but
So the October 2023 spam update started of October 4th, so last Wednesday, and this is enough time, about a week and a bit, to churn some results. And apparently some of the more egregious sites that were polluting search results are starting to vanish.
let's hope. I don't have a lot of faith in the results lately. They've been pretty bad. So we'll see how it is at the end of the 2 weeks. So
One thing you can normally rely on with Google is if they got something good going, they'll find a way to kill
it. That's for sure.
it. um, it's good to know this one is rolling out. More importantly, that people are seeing results from this effort in 6 or 7 days after the effort started fully beginning. It's also kind of good to know the timing on that. So we've been talking a lot about AI in search results, generative search results, and the output of it. We've dealt with the debate: should you or shouldn't you train your content on, or allow AI to train on your content? And Google, Bing both promised that using robots text, you could block AI from training on your site, but do it at the robots text level. Doesn't work that way with SGE content, though. So if you don't want your content in SGE, in the search generative experience, you don't want your content used to train that large language model, the AI that runs off of it, you'll have to use a no index tag, which means you're basically cutting that page specifically off from search in general.
Yeah, and this just plays into my theory. It's just my theory, but also some of the things we see, that the Google SG is not a true chat model like ChatGPT, that they're using existing things that they have, like feature snippets, and redoing them with LLMs, because they say you can't get out of the SG. You can just stop training on it. So it doesn't really make sense. So, but the no index will take the page completely out of the index. So it won't be in Google and it won't be trained on.
Indeed. So
Yeah.
that's a trade-off, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of big trade-off. So
Um,
because they won't confirm how they do their model. So yeah.
of course, the other method, putting using robots text, will block that specific bot. So you say, AI bot, don't come here.
Yeah.
That's a site-wide thing. So it's not like you can divvy up your content and let it go after some content, but keep a firewall around other content. That's a site-wide. At first glance, the no index meta tag is a cool idea, except it's not no index for a specific bot. It's no index for all bots.
Yeah, so it takes your page out of the index. So if your page needs to be in Google, you cannot use this to keep it from training on it or appearing in SG. The no training tag will keep it from training on it, but for some reason doesn't keep it out of SGE, and that's where we get into what model are they really using. But yeah, if you do use that no index tag, you will lose that page in search.
Yeah. So that's something I wish SEO would do a survey, or I'm sorry, I wish Google would do a survey, huh?
Yeah.
We got, we got time for one or two more stories.
Yeah.
I would really like to get our guest Morgan in as soon as possible. Where do you want to go?
Oh gosh, I was on a panel with Morgan this morning, so I didn't have a lot of time to do
Okay,
some
you have a
research
lot of
this
time to.
morning.
Here's one. I think that's kind of up your alley. Google announced today that Google News Showcase is now going to show in Google Discover. Now, Google News Showcase is something new to American users. Users in the EU, Canada, India, wherever else aren't seeing this yet. But if you see a little notation in Google Discover that says Showcase, that's where this is coming from.
Well, that will be very interesting to see.
Well, you got some publishers on your roster, don't you?
I do. Yeah. So I'll have to do some deep dives on this and make sure that they met all eligibility requirements to appear in the showcase. I don't know if there are any or not. That's what I have to go look at.
Okay. Lastly, before we jump over to Morgan, quick update on the Google antitrust suit. It's moving forward. It's we're in the third of what's scheduled to be a 10-week trial. Google is trying to defend its dominance in search against a DOJ, a Department of Justice investigation that actually began under the Trump administration, but was continued because there's probably a great deal of merit to it. Google
Yeah.
used its enormity and its money to continually set the stage to guarantee its dominance.
Yeah, and we probably need to do a whole show on everything they've discovered in this trial because there's a lot. But Search Engine Land right now has an article that is keeping updates. So you can go to Search Engine Land and look for the Google Search Antitrust trial updates. So there's a lot in here. But yeah, we all know that Google has used its dominance at times to stay dominant.
Well,
So it will be interesting to see how this goes because normally, because of their amount of lobbyists and the money they put into lawyers, these things don't make it to trial. So the fact that it's made it to a real evidential trial, like there wasn't a deal made first, is very interesting. So it'll be interesting to see the outcome.
When we use a word like dominant, I just want to kind of give a scale for what we mean. As of June 2023, Google had 90.68% of the global search market.
Yeah.
That was the most used search engine in the world, followed quite closely by its nearest competitor, Bing, at 3.23%.
Yeah.
Now, this must be so embarrassing for Bing. I'm red faces in Redmond, no doubt. Number 3 is Yahoo at 3.17%. And Yahoo exists merely as a rumor right now, but it's on its way back. If
Well, we do know some really good SEOs working
at Yahoo, they're
that.
working to
Yeah.
come on their way back. Because, honest to goodness, would you say Yahoo is actually on the scene right now?
No,
Like,
but
for
you know
real?
what? I want someone to make my email address, which is Yahoo, because I'm just never migrated all my emails over anywhere else. To be legit again, to be cool, with young kids.
If I still held them, I'd want someone to make those shares whole again.
That's true.
Real.
Maybe we should buy shares now because we know the team that's working there is really good.
That's quite true. Anyway, Google, 90.68% of all 9 to 10 searches are conducted on
Yeah.
Google. And it used to be a time when you could look at Bing and go, you know what, that's probably about 10% of the market. Not anymore.
Yeah, and if
Even,
that, go ahead. I was just
sorry.
going to say, I think we're going to say the same thing. Go ahead.
Well, even after they took the massive roll of the dice about a year ago on Chat GPT and just integrating that as part of the search
Yeah.
and all things Bing, all things Microsoft Office Suite experience. And in fact, they've lost market share since then.
Yeah, they got more usage, so it's costing a lot more, but they didn't get any market share. So yeah, it's not been good. And I think it's just they have really good people that work on Bing. I mean, we know the people personally that actually representatives for Bing with the SEO community, but it just can't get that traction for some reason.
Okay, so the reason we're talking about Google's dominance again is because of the antitrust hearing that is ongoing. We've learned a whole bunch of neat stuff during the hearing. For instance, Google does use clicks and rankings, not necessarily directly, but in a pretty cool indirect route, fairly directly. Google does use clicks and rankings. It's a really cool thread out on Twixter. I hate to recommend, but Ryan Jones is noodling through Google's use of clicks on Twitter, and it actually makes a pretty cool thread.
Yeah, I'll check it out. I have not had a chance to check it out because again, I was on a panel this morning about AI and ethics with Morgan, our guest, so I didn't get a chance to look at it yet, but I will after our talk our podcast today. Although I still just think that the click thing is what Matt Cutts told us years ago, but I haven't read Ryan's thing, and Ryan's very smart, so there's a chance he knows something I don't. But Matt Cutts told us years ago that they do use click data for pogo sticking to resort relevance, but not that it was part of a ranking signal of any sort.
Okay, well, there's a number of ethical concerns around a number of things Google has done and continues to do to hold its dominant position and to make money off its dominant position. Last week we talked about how they jimmy the numbers around towards the end of quarter to change the search queries that produce different valued AdWords that they get a whole bunch more value on when you click them. Anyway, speaking of ethics, this is going to be an interesting interview. We have, as Kristine noted, just earlier today in Las Vegas, Kristine sat on a panel with Morgan McGraw, a 20-year veteran of the digital media industry. He's worked at Microsoft, Pandora, Snap, and now works at a Madrid-based AI ethics and monitoring group called Seedtag. Seedtag is the redefining contextual targeting through a privacy-first approach based on GTRP standards. That's the EU advertising standards that's caused Google to abandon UA3 and adopt GA4. Thanks, Morgan. Morgan McGraw, welcome to Webcology.
Really a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for dropping in again, especially after on really short notice. You were on a panel this morning on AI and ethics. Let's start there. What was this panel about? Kristine, jump in, please, when if you want to add to it. But more, what was this panel about?
Yeah, we were speaking to a group of marketers, both brand and agency marketers here in Las Vegas, and really trying to keep people informed on, as there's continued innovation and iteration within AI tools, what needs to be considered, not only from usage, but the ethics that are being applied to it, or what are the ethics that should be considered when using it, not only from a professional basis, but also in a personal usage. So we wanted to really bring to light some of the things that need to be considered. I think that there's a bevy of things that marketers really need to be checking before using a lot of these tools. Kristine was very informative for the group, and really showed some of the pitfalls that they can fall into, and should really be considered. And we reiterated those. I think that, we touched on things such as, we've got the Writers Guild fighting for likeness with AI, right? And making sure that they're being credited properly. We have songwriters who are fighting for copyrights and publishing, composing rights. We've got artists that are trying to maintain some kind of integrity and ownership of their images that they're creating that are being potentially manipulated by AI. So we went through a broad range of topics, but we tried to bring it back for this group to marketing and really what it meant for them, and making sure that they understood what the potential impact could be for their brands.
Okay, well, Kristine has been studying and learning about and tearing apart AI for, well, I don't know, for over a year now. And so I can see what the knowledge base she brought to the panel. You're with an organization called Seedtag, based in Madrid.
Yep.
What are you guys doing with AI that brought you to this panel?
Yeah, I guess that was a good thing. I needed to bring a little frame of reference for the group, and even to why I was there. I think the lens that we come through is we're really helping brands ensure that they're reaching audiences succinctly as we become a more privacy-centric world. Our focus is more from the marketing side of how are you finding succinct, accurate, relevant audiences without the use of cookies or third-party data. Again, we are a company that's rooted in a privacy-first approach, being born in Madrid in the EU, and based on those GDPR standards that we want to adhere to first and foremost. I think we all know that the EU, and specifically Germany, they have the highest standards for user privacy, and we wanted to make sure that that's. I was using that as a jump-off place to discuss the way that we approach contextual targeting, contextual analysis of content across the open web, the way that we determine what people's interests are, and then being able to create contextual targeting for brands to ensure precise ad placements based on that online content that they want to align to. So, for example, if we wanted to find somebody who was interested in going to Hawaii, maybe that marketer wants to find some very specific people who are interested in ecotourism and sustainability and cultural moments, and we can help find that content around the web and build audiences for those brands to align to. Now, the question is, and I think that we'll get into this a little bit more, is how do we do that? And really, how do we do that in a privacy-first manner? How do we do it where we don't apply biases to the AI who's doing image and text analysis, and ensure that we're being accurate? And that was really the root of the conversation today as well, which is privacy, transparency, and understanding what steps publishers or partners are taking towards correcting any biases they might have within their AI tools and training.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, Kristine, go. Sorry.
I just, it's okay. Just because I spent time with Morgan this morning on the panel, I just wanted to throw in there that one of the things I find interesting about Morgan's company that he can speak to is they have an internal set of processes to make sure that they're adhering to their best, is this correct way to say it, company ethics, maybe? You know, where, and Morgan, you speak to this, but like where you have your prompts are reviewed by two people and you review your output. And I think those are really important. And I think it's really interesting how Morgan's company has approached the ethics of AI internally. So if he wants to talk to that, or do you have a question?
You know, I think contextual by design is about user privacy, right? And then it's about what technology are we using to ensure that we're in full control of how content is being categorized. So, you know, we go through, I don't know if we want to get in the weeds a little bit about what we do is essentially, but it gives you, this is really the power of AI to me, is being able to go out across the entire open web and convert audience. So let's just say a brand came to us and gave us a brief on who their perfect target audience would be. So we would convert that audience into numerical high dimensional vectors. And then we would go out and convert every article across the web into a numerical high dimensional vector as well. And that process is called embedding. So what we need to be able to do, and that's a mathematical first format, right? And then we calculate the distance between the briefing and every article. It gives us something called semantic and co-occurring relations, what are most similar and what are somewhat similar. I'll give you the analogy of hot dogs and hamburgers might be semantically related, whereas hot dog and baseball would be a co-occurrence. Those two things could come up in an article or a piece of content together, very different context. And then really what we do is we apply an affinity score. Well, it starts there, right? And that's one of the pieces of the process, but we need to start to look at also through text and image analysis and training our AI Liz to have an understanding of sentiment. And what is the sentiment of an article, right? How is it reading that article? And this is where we really start to have ethical questions that come up, not for us, but just we have to take these into consideration for biases that then can be applied to as we're categorizing this content, right? So we want to have, not only ethical best practices for our users and making sure that we're getting the most relevant content or ad experience in front of them, but we also want to make sure that there's brand suitability and brand safety and quality assurance for our advertisers, right? That their ads are not aligned to content that would have any negative ramifications for them.
You know how AI allows us to suddenly do a million things more than we were able to do previously. Talking about AI prompts a million more questions than one might get in a more traditional conversation. So I have several bits that I've been from what you just said that I want to follow up on. Can we go back a little bit to us existing in a cookieless world? We've been taken a direction primarily by Google's reaction to the GDRP. And Google has changed its approach to how we track the efficacy of our advertising and of our efforts through Google Analytics or Universal Analytics now into GA4. So we're in a cookieless world. That movement started 4 or 5 years ago, before the advent of OpenAI. Where is Seedtag and its thinking a couple years back?
Yeah, well, the company was founded 9 years ago. So the founders themselves are two ex-Googlers who really didn't believe that consequently enough, that Google had enough privacy standards, so they created their own company.
Okay.
And if you look at Contextual, it's inherently private, right? That all you're doing is saying, do you like race cars? I'm going to put you in front of an automotive article. That's the most rudimentary example that I could give. It obviously gets, and that's like very, very basic old school contextual targeting, where we used to have publisher specific sites that advertisers would rely on. They started with this privacy first approach 9 years ago, right? Where no one really knew that cookies would be deprecated by then. But I think it was, again, and I think the lens, and this, again, I'm applying some bias here, but I have to remove myself. We're looking at it through the lens of being US-based people. They might have been much more advanced in their thinking, as we've seen come to light in the EU and the standards that they apply. So maybe there was something that they saw long before we really hit our desks here in the US to say, hey, we need to adhere to privacy. We need to think about this down the road. Let's create a platform that is 100% cookieless. Let's build a technology that understands every piece of content out there available, contextualize it, categorize it, make it available to advertisers while adhering to these privacy standards, as well as brand suitability and brand safety. So they were, in my opinion, they were ahead of the game.
Oh, absolutely. And there was a pretty well-informed and well-formed privacy movement, privacy by design movement 10, 15 years ago. Absolutely. And really cool that a couple Googlers look at Google and say, okay, we know that the change is coming. Let's get ahead of this. They created this this contextualization engine. Then AI comes along and you created Liz. Did she predate AI, or is she the AI?
That's a great question, because to me, the way I look at AI is, as it relates to Seedtag, AI is really an umbrella for multiple operating systems, such as natural language processing, network level analysis, text analysis, vision, image analysis. Those are the real, that's the sausage, right? That's within the case, to use an analogy there. I think AI kind of envelops all of that, right? So it's easy for us to put it in that definable way. I think that there was these pieces that were being created long ago, and that, AI, as it emerged as a more common household term, it just took on that life as well.
Okay, well,
so
it's easier for me at any rate. I imagine listeners might have the same thing. It's easy to visualize intelligence as a being. Now, it's not a being. Artificial intelligence is not a being, but we often anthropomorphize it. We make it into something we can relate to. Again, like Seedtag, you've named your AI Liz. How has this engine, this model that you've created, where does it train? Does it train on the open web, or does it train on a contained set of data?
So the data that we're utilizing is the open web and the content that's available through publishers specifically. So whether it might be somebody like a Condé Nast site, like a Rolling Stone, or a Variety that we partner with, Liz is able to connect with our publisher partners that we have agreements with, and analyze their available content, and understand in real time what that content means and the categories that they fit within. I think that's a big difference also for what Liz does, and shows the power of it. It's a global entity, for AI entity, that's operating in 8 different languages and 12 different dialects, and has the ability to understand real-time relevant trending content. And then in those milliseconds this is happening, it's analyzing about 60,000 articles per minute, applying, a categorization and brand safety to that. So what we have is a tool internally that you can look at that actually shows you real-time trending brand safety measurements in the countries that we're measuring.
I'm not quite sure how to phrase this question, so please forgive me if I phrase it poorly. Thinking of the different LLM models that are out there, the different AIs that we're aware of, ChatGPT being the most well known, but then you have Bard over at Google. Thinking of all the models that are out there, is Liz a unique entity? Is there another AI like the one that you're using?
We like to think that we're the only ones doing network level analysis. So there's a lot of companies that will do page and URL level analysis, but network level analysis is really that ability to understand what's on a page and then the connections between users' interests of similar pages, going back to that vector dimensional modeling that we have, and being able to make those proximities. Again, this is one piece of what we're doing. We do have somewhat of our own version of ChatGPT, where we're able to ingest a brand marketer's brief into our system, and within a few seconds, Liz will have gone out, scanned the content universe, and will then tell that marketer exactly what contextual categories, topics and subjects, and sample URLs that they should be aligning to reach that audience. So it is our somewhat version of ChatGPT, where you put in a prompt and you get a response. It's more of a from a media tactic, blocking and tackling perspective. Obviously, because that's the business that we're in, it's being able to do that output in a matter of seconds, which typically takes some agencies or marketers weeks or months to really figure out, where do I find my audiences? And that's the real astonishing ability of Liz and AI itself, is to be able to do these different types of measurements or reads within seconds. To be able to have that type of output after analyzing millions and millions of articles, whether it be Liz or just in general AI, that's where I'm in awe. And that's the really great application. Now we have to start looking at, what are we doing behind the scenes to ensure that they're done ethically, we don't have biases, and to put a punctuation on what Kristine said earlier. It's like, we do have a review process where the system's checking against biases in its outputs and cross-validated by human auditors. So it's a multi-step process to ensure that we're categorizing content correctly.
Yeah, output is one thing. Dealing with the enormity of output is quite another. And that opens the entire Pandora's box of filtering, of ethics, of making decisions before introducing the AI in the first place. What is the most important aspect of the ethics behind creating an LLM to inform a client?
I think the guardrails that we're able to stay within are kind of that artificial narrow intelligence, where you're working within a specific data set. I think you asked me earlier, like, what are we working off of for prompts? And, again, it's the open web. We're not in a place where it's general intelligence for, self-driving cars or IBM Watson, or, we're not even near any place like a super intelligence, like a HAL 9000 Skynet Matrix agents type situation. We're really just creating an output based on the data that's given to us, and that in this instance is the content across the open web. Now, again, it's coming online and offline. We know how much content's created every single day. That's the constant information that's being fed into it for analysis, and then the output is fairly. We try and make it as, there's 695 different dimensions, right? And we try to two-dimensionalize it for our own human visualization. So there's a lot more, just to simplify all of these things that are happening from an output perspective.
So I have a burning question to ask you that I know everyone probably wants to know. And that is, why did it get the name Liz?
This has been a widely debated topic within our own company, which I believe, if I were to just make my own guesses, that no one will give an answer because it leads to burning questions like this in conversations. There's also some, people might make their own assumptions. From what I understand, it's not the name of any of the founders' children. Liz is just one of those nice names like Alexa and Siri. I think that is friendly, and I think in a world of ad tech, where we're working within ones and zeros, and science is pretty much the root of what we do. A little bit of art sprinkled in there isn't too bad either. So I think this is our part of the art and the science, and Liz brings a little smile to my face.
Well,
and
I have to like it because my middle name's Elizabeth. So
well, there you go.
there you go. Yeah,
Liz is
yeah.
easy to remember too, right? Liz.
Very easy to remember. So there's really no story behind the name other than the story is hidden. Like, it's amorphous.
Nothing that's been validated from anyone's lips to my ears. So, and if I do find it out, I'll be sure to send a follow-up that you can share with the listeners.
That's awesome. I love it.
Looking forward, how much will AI be used to understand our websites, our audiences, their intentions, and how to best I guess how to best get messages to them? I mean, the experience you've had so far.
Yeah, we're already doing that, right? So when we're working with these publisher partners and their websites, we're understanding the content that's on it, not only from text but image. We have image analysis too, where you can put in a keyword and it will pull up every single image across the web, and you can align contextually to the images as well as the text content. So we have a good understanding of that. We also have a good understanding of how the content is consumed on publisher partner sites. This isn't a one-to-one measurement, but more of the feedback loop that we're getting based on, let's say that Kristine likes to scroll very quickly through content. Well, we'll understand that. We'll see that that's a scroll speed on a specific type of device, and we'll insert an ad accordingly, probably at the bottom where it will be prevalent. And you, Jim, might be somebody who's more of a methodical reader of an article, and we'll understand the scroll speed and the way that content is being consumed, and we'll insert an ad in the middle that might capture your attention. And I might be somebody who likes to watch the video at the top of an article and view that through, and I'll be served an ad accordingly. And that's part of the AI as well, is now not only understanding the content, the best contextual environments to deliver an ad, but then also being able to understand what ad to deliver based on that user's content consumption behavior, making it the best experience, not only for that user, but also for the brand. Because quite frankly, there are dollars behind this, and no brand, they want to be effective and efficient with their media spends. So we believe that, if we're doing the right thing, lining brands with the right contextual audiences and the content they're consuming, that we're going to see greater outcomes. And this is really going back to what we touched on before, which is, with the deprecation of cookies imminently coming soon, I mean, you probably can only reach about 30% of the open web that has a quote unquote addressable audience based on cookies. Companies are going to need to be much more succinct about what they're doing for delivering ads to consumers in lieu of having cookies. And we believe that this technology, contextual, is the future, and being able to, and we want to, obviously we'll consider ourselves at the forefront of that. So, that's really our current understanding of what you just said, like not where we're going, but what we're currently doing. Now, where do we go from here? That's where we have some, platforms. The open web is probably easiest because it can scale. It's when you start getting into other platforms such as CTV, and can you do this on social at scale, and can you do it accurately? Social has probably a whole other, slew of challenges that it has, because when you start to talk about, ethics and biases, or even the type of content that's out there, as you alluded to at the beginning of the podcast. I think those are some waters that everybody should wade into carefully. But those are the next places where we want to be able to make connections. Can you do this with out of home, right? Can you do this at other advertising placements? So you're being served contextually relevant ads. I don't know about you, but I don't like
television
being
stream. How your Netflix viewership. I can think of a zillion ways that you can sort of apply this analysis to people's habits.
Well, we've seen that, Hulu has done some interesting things where they're actually asking, in commercial breaks, what types of ads you like. But what if, I actually, what if I actually, made some really educated, mathematically relevant, brand safe, suitable decisions that said, okay, you watch this type of content, here's the ads that I'm going to insert to you. So it's happening now, but how do we start to do that holistically for marketers, right? How can they do this across platforms where they actually then start having measurement? And that's a whole other conversation, is cross-platform measurement in an accurate and succinct way, which I think that, nobody's been able to really figure out, like, where if my dollars are on the web and social and on linear and on CTV, how do I reach these audiences accurately, correctly, effectively, and efficiently, and measured? But that's a whole other podcast.
Morgan, we have 3 or 4 more conversations just stemming off the last paragraph you spoke, but I understand you have a meeting in 2 minutes from now.
Yeah.
I got a big note on my screen saying top of the hour. Morgan, top of the hour. You have a deadline. So I want to talk about Google's old cohorts of things. It's got this whole cohort of things feeling about Seedtag, but this is obviously so much more beyond that. But did Google's ideas around grouping peoples into cohorts, did that help inform where Seedtag started from?
I couldn't speak to if it started from that, but again, just as a reminder, our founders are 2x Googlers. So
indeed.
So
yeah.
I don't know what the sphere of influence was in its totality for the inception of Seedtag and the iterations we've gone through. But when I talk with marketers about, we do contextual targeting, we do cohorts, I think there's some real definitions that need to be put around that as well. Again, based on just the complete evolution of contextual targeting. But I wouldn't say that, I'd say early days, that might be an educated guess, is to say that they were influenced by that, but I can't speak on their behalf.
It certainly has that feeling, and that's where Google was their first impulse after trying to move away from cookies. That was the first thing they did. Sure. I haven't heard a lot about that recently, but in thinking about Seedtag and how Seedtag does what it does, it gives a lot to think about. Morgan, I can't keep you any longer, as much as I very much want to, but I'm gonna have to invite you back again sometime in the future.
I'd love to. I'll come back anytime you like.
Morgan McGraw from Seedtag. Thank you so much for spending time with us today, man.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Well, friends, that was Morgan McGraw. Works with Seedtag, and Seedtag is the redefining contextual targeting machine named Liz. I love that, a contextual machine named Liz.
Liz.
That was fun. How did you get on this panel, Kristine? What was the process? What was the process of getting the gig?
Process. There's really no process. Well,
someone called you up and said, "Hey, want you to talk?"
Well, Las Vegas Internet Marketers Association, LAVIMA, I belong to, and I've done ChatGPT talks for them before, and I know the person who runs it. So when they were looking for a panelist for this conversation day, they thought of me, so they asked me to come do it. Well, and then there was someone else local that was on the panel as well. But I find his tech fascinating, and I just love that they have a whole internal ethics process to make sure that their AI stays on track. It's pretty awesome.
Absolutely, and moreover, do you remember a few years back when Google was going through the what was it, 2.5 years ago, where they introduced the cohorts of things, and everyone was like, "What the hell is that all about?" I couldn't stop feeling that vibe as Morgan was talking about how Seedtag worked. Um, and there was how to say it. There was some interesting thought behind the cohorts of things. I was finding that a really useful tool to show my clients who Google thought was looking at their websites.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot you could do that.
Yeah,
There's
yeah, yeah.
changed so many things so fast.
Well, indeed, and like I said, like we said earlier,
Yeah.
often when Google's got a good thing going, they look at it, smile, and put it up against the wall.
Yeah, there is actually a Twitter account about things Google killed.
Yeah, they go old yeller on it. Um,
You know, that just brings me to another point real quick though. Do you feel like with everything these days, like it's changing so fast, it's almost impossible to keep up? Like every day,
well,
there's just so much going on.
we've used the phrase on the show for years, and this isn't our phrase. This is Douglas Copeland, the author of Gen X and microserfs, acceleration culture. We live in a world that's dictated by Moore's law. You know, where we were going to double our processing speed every 18 months or so, and that's effectively doubling our ability to deal with the totality of the world's knowledge.
Yeah.
We blew through Moore's law. Intel blew through Moore's law, what, like 5 years ago, when they figured out how to put 8 chips, the equivalent of 8 chips, on the same little wafer of silicon. And
Yeah.
like it used to be that it would take 18 months to double our knowledge speed, and now we're into the octogoling.
Yeah, and we're borderline quantum. So that's coming soon.
So yes, acceleration
Yeah.
culture. Everything is changing far faster than we're going to be able to keep up, which is one of the reasons why I think no matter what the dangers around it, what we think about it, the world is barreling ahead into the AI revolution. And as we're going along, we're learning better ways to use it. Although the unscrupulous are still using it for awful and horrible things.
They always will. Like my
Yeah,
old professor used to say, light clocks only keep honest people honest.
yeah,
Like,
the hammer that is beside my bed ain't gonna be used for nails.
yeah, it
Use
is
tools a whole
interesting.
bunch of different ways.
And when you talk about AI regulations, people are like, well, people still do bad stuff. Of course, they'll always still do bad stuff, but the regulations do keep honest people honest, i.e., keep people that would stay inside guardrails to stay inside guardrails, which has a whole effect on, you know, a little less harm in the world. So,
Honest,
yeah,
honest
yeah.
to
And if
goodness, if only everybody working with AI and large language models were as nice and honest as Morgan was.
well, that's what I love. That's why I wanted to have him on because, because it was kind of a last minute thing to have him on today. But I love how they approach their AI. They're transparent, and they have people that double check the prompts, which I hadn't heard of somebody doing. Right, so they have two checks on the prompt, two people that review a prompt before they use it to make
Yeah,
sure that it doesn't have. And of course, there could be bias and issues in the people that check it, but at least when you have three people checking you reduce those chances quite a bit. So
you know
I
what?
think that
Think of what you could learn from that level of prompt analysis. I mean,
yeah,
I
that's
bet you
true.
they're informing themselves, and they're teaching their own company as they go along while they do that, eh?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, and you definitely learn a lot about how it works when you do the prompt testing, right? So, but I think it's a model that a lot of companies could follow because I mean we don't know what Google and the Microsofts of the world are doing, but they're not a Google or Microsoft, but they're a big company that do a lot of handle a lot of big clients. And they have an internal AI ethics process and they have an internal AI basically ethics policy. I don't know if it's a formal policy, but that's what the processes are around. And I think people could learn from that companies need to start looking at having internal processes and ethics questions answered in their company before they create things so that just like you would do with your branding, like, or you would do with your tone of, how you write your brand tone or something. You should have an AI ethics policy internally so everyone knows in your company exactly what they can do, what they can't do, and how they can represent the AI and how transparent you are.
Yeah, undoubtedly.
Yeah.
And as this becomes part of our world, our business world, our daily world, and very likely our personal world. I had coffee before the show. I went out for coffee with the analytics expert, Alan Knack.
I love Alan. Sorry, should I say that on the show that I love Alan?
You're absolutely welcome to. And you're gonna, you know what, we're gonna have him on the show again sometime soon to talk about predictive analytics.
Awesome. That'd be
That's
great.
the next. I mean, predictive. Guess what? Google's going to tell you the future, fairly
Yeah.
accurately too, no doubt.
We'll see. I don't know if I trust Google, but I do trust Alan. Alan is
There you go. That was actually my line. Damn it, that was excellent.
Yeah.
There you go. I don't know if I trust Google, but I do trust Alan. And
I
yes,
do
so
trust
Alan's
Alan, yes.
going to be coming on to talk about predictive analytics soon. We are going to hopefully be having Dave Davies come on to talk about the future of AI search and marketing. And if we're very, very lucky, we will have a person who works to break models and a person who works to save them.
Yes.
Coming up in the coming weeks.
Crossing our fingers. Yeah. So those would be really good.
Crossing our
ones.
fingers and covering every base.
Exactly.
That's exactly what we do every week on Webcology. We cross our fingers and try to cover every base.
Yes, we just hope we make it through the hour.
And you know what? We did it again this week successfully.
Did we do it? Awesome.
12 o'clock. We've gone all the way around. So we're gonna have to get out of here soon because I know there's more stuff coming up in the studio. And thank you so much to Darren, Brandy, Brasco, and most importantly, our engineer Ricky. On behalf of Kristine Schachinger from Sites Without Walls, this is Jim Hedger from Digital Always Media, and you've been listening to this episode of Webcology, recorded live to podcast on the 12th of October, 2023. Right. Halloween's almost here, guys.
It is. That's a religious day in Vegas.
Well, you know what else that means? If Halloween's almost here, Thanksgiving's coming. And if Thanksgiving's coming, so is Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Get your Christmas stuff in order now.
Actually, get it up now because actually the sales for Black Friday and Cyber Monday have been going back as far as the middle of October.
This is officially it, the middle of October.
Yes.
Officially, you're here now. Tomorrow's Friday the 13th. Keep your damn head down.
And by the way, just a real quick notion for any company, because I've been with big billion-dollar companies who think they don't need Black Friday sections. You do, because Google changes the search results to reflect Black Friday. So you can't just make specials on your regular sales page. You need Black Friday sales content. You have to have it, unless you just don't want to rank that week, because the Black Friday sales will all outrank you because they suddenly shift.
That's what, like 4 weeks from now?
Yeah.
For real. And get on it, guys.
Yeah, get on it. No.
Okay, on behalf of Kristine Schachinger from Sites Without Walls, this is Jim Hedger from Digital Always Media. Be kind to each other, be good webmasters, do the right thing, rank well, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye, everybody.